It's something that's very much needed. This evening we're going to be looking at how to get unstuck. I think some of you know what I mean. Sometimes we have to ask ourselves, what's using my life? Heard a guy give a lecture one time that says, we are today what we were when. And he was talking about the fact that we, to a great extent, behave, think, react because of some previous experience that we've had. One of the things that we know about life is that it is always changing. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down. Sometimes things go real well, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes you're happy, and sometimes you're sad. Now that's that thing called life. And when we begin to understand and know that, accepting that reality that we will never ever have things just on an even keel all the time, that you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs, but during those down moments, that's where the growth takes place. That's where the work is. See, anybody can feel good when they have their health, their bills are paid, they have happy relationships, the children are acting normal, business is successful. Anybody could be positive then. Anybody can have a larger vision then. Anybody can have faith under those kinds of circumstances. Am I correct? See, but the real challenge of growth, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, comes when you get knocked down. Somebody said that adversity introduces a man to himself or a woman. How you handle it, that's where the growth takes place. When I was facing some challenges, I had a guy say something to me, and I suggest this is one of the first things that you want to do when you're facing a challenge. You want to get unstuck. Evaluate where you are. Look at it, assess yourself. Assess yourself and assess the situation. What brought you there? What role did you play? Earl Nightingale had a saying I like. He said, all of us are self-made, but only the successful will admit it. What has brought you to this point? What did you learn from it? Are you learning anything, or are you doing it over and over and over again? Somebody said that insanity is doing the same thing in the same way, expecting a different outcome. Are you going through it, or are you growing through it? Are you bigger and better because of it? Because it's not going to leave you until you grow through it. I was going through a major challenge in my life that was wearing me out, that was using me. And one of my students told me in a class that I was teaching, Lessons in Truth, she said, Les, until you handle it with grace, it will stay in your face. And it stayed there a long time. The challenges of life. How do we get stuck?
When we think, we create an energy field. When we think thoughts of love, forgiveness, and peace, and all the things we want to bring to the world, we create a certain kind of very positive energy. When we think thoughts of hate, of all these other emotions, of anger, of fear, we create another kind of energy, a very destructive one, which, if it's in big enough quantities, destroys the very life force of creation, which comes from the being some call God. The name I'm given is the Godhead. Now, if we can create by thought, what can the Godhead do? This master spirit at the center of all creation. He can create almost anything he wishes by thought, and he creates us by thought. What I'm saying is we're all the children of God, but some people come to earth, Jesus was one, there were many more before him, who are actually part of the soul of the Godhead. It's God incarnate on earth. That's what Jesus was, that's what these other people were before. To try to bring the truth to a planet that has lost that truth for 12,000 years, and as a result of which we have taken this wondrous planet to the brink of not existence.
Jesus claimed to said, I you claiming that too? You and the Father are one?
We're all one with the Father.
No.
Oh yes, we are. We're all one with the Father. What I'm saying is that if I, as Jesus was, and others were before him, an aspect, part of the soul of the Godhead, then these beings are the Godhead incarnate.
Then we are all sons of God and children of God in that way.
Well,
But are you special?
no one's special.
Have you been singled out?
The message that comes across all the time is the Godhead loves all of us as if there was only one of us. No one is special. But there are certain people who come to Earth at certain times, and to other planets too, at times of great crisis to try to help to sort things out. And they are just the Godhead in a physical body. This great transformation of Earth that's already beginning it's already underway, is being guided not by yours truly alone, but by the whole of creation.
So, what is the foundation of this knowledge of reality that they so desperately want to keep from us? Well, let's look at the five senses for a start. What do they do? That's the point where we directly interact with this reality, okay? And we decode the information into the world that we perceive. And I've explained how that works many times in these video casts and elsewhere. But the five senses decode reality in a particular way. Because it is such a narrow band of frequency that it's able to see, I mean, just to give you an idea, mainstream science projects that the electromagnetic spectrum, which is basically our reality, is 0.005% of what exists in the universe. And visible light, which is the only frequency band that we can see, is a smear of the 0.005%. So humans are basically blind in terms of what there is to see compared with what we do see. And this is because the five senses decode reality in a particular way. They decode the frequency of what we call form. That's what they bring into a visual reality. So we see the light, we see the camera, and whatever else is there. But in between the forms, the five senses perceive empty space. Nothing there. But there is no empty space. It's just that the five sense visual decoding system doesn't go deep enough into the frequency field to actually see that there is a sea of energy, consciousness, potentiality and possibility that we're all interacting with, which I call the field. This has been talked about by cultures right across the world, ancient cultures. They've had their different symbols of it, their different names for it. Some people call this field of infinite possibility and potential all there is, has been, and ever can be. And the five senses say you can't be all there is, has been, and ever can be. Well, if you're all potential and all possibility, you have to be all there is, has been, and ever can be, or you're not all potential and all possibility. Other people call this field God. In the Lakota culture in North America, they call it Wakantanka, the force that moves all things. In the East, they call it Brahman, which is defined as a sea of potential waiting to be made manifest. How do we make it manifest? Through our perceptions. And this cult knows that. And we are generating a frequency field all the time with our perceptions. Every time you think, depending on the nature of the thought, it's generating a particular frequency that relates to that thought. Every time we feel emotion, we are generating frequencies that relate to that emotion. So depression and anxiety are very low, slow, heavy, oh, I feel so heavy today, frequencies. And love and joy, all those are very high frequencies. Oh, I feel so light today. And so this package of our perception in its mental and emotional expressions is dictating the frequency band that we are operating.